definitely check out the Pellas art in the other room when you get a chance. It's really great that they have that here for us, and the studio itself is downtown in Boston, so definitely check that out on Newbury Street as well. Hi everyone, I just wanted to get us this art panel, art and culture going, and lead with a simple question. In the Web3 space, how does art and culture play an important role? And let's start with where we are now, and then go back and kind of cover some history as well. So.
Yeah, I'll start. I think the best way to think about these type of things is sort of like from an application standpoint. So I've been a crypto investor for a long time, and I've always loved art, but in many ways, the traditional art world is somewhat inaccessible. Like you can feel intimidated collecting or walking into a gallery. You don't know like exactly what to look for. But with Web3, all the walls sort of like disappeared, and the integration of the technology as proof of ownership and the ability to like know that you own this. There's no counterfeits. Like paper COAs are good, but like that's not like as good as it could be, and not even close actually. So yeah, the best way to think about this is how it affects our entire progression as a society from a technological standpoint. For example, like I have 2 kids, they're going to grow up in the metaverse as opposed to like me playing Nintendo or something. So their digital identities will become hugely important over time. And for me, I love art, so I started from the collector standpoint, and now I'm working on a project, a digital art studio project. But I just started buying stuff that I liked, and I wound up meeting some of the best artists in the world because of that. So I think that was a really easy way to break down the walls of traditional art and sort of like higher end culture, I suppose.
Oh, and also, can you just say your name quick?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm David Paredes. I'm the CEO of SkyNess Studios, and I'm the digital art director of Pellas Gallery, which Isabel owns.
Thank you.
Should we just all do intros now?
Yeah, do the intros as well.
Yeah, I'm Carl Cleanthes. I'm an artist. You can look me up at Colorful Carl on pretty much anything, colorfulcarl.com. I'm also the founder of Epic Made. We're a creative agency that works in entertainment, media, and tech. We do lots of animation, digital art type of stuff. So,
I'm Isabel. I'm a woman of many hats, art advisor, art dealer, art collector, traditional art mostly, but we've gotten into the space of NFTs and digital art. I own Pellas Gallery, which is in Newbury Street in Boston, so hopefully you can come, and David is there many days of the week, 2 days.
Fridays, Tuesdays, yeah.
Fridays, Tuesdays. And we have a digital art gallery on the back, which is a totally immersive space with artists that we represent.
So with David's point on digital identity and Web3 kind of opening up so many possibilities outside of the strict definition of Web3, what other points do you guys want to highlight that this is kind of bringing into this web and culture space?
Yeah, I mean, the foundational part of Web3, right, is financial sovereignty, right? And that spills way over into us. And like, when Web3 hit and crypto started going, it was mostly like really tech-savvy, financial-savvy people, and no one really knew what it was, and it was kind of this enigma, and is that a scam, is it whatever? But when CryptoKitties hit and all these big collections started coming, people were like, what is this? It was the artists that defined the culture that blew this whole thing up, that put it on the national and international stage that everyone was excited about. So I just think that like that same vein bleeds through this part of the arts and culture side, is that like we just want to be, a more equitable space, more inclusive space. We love the idea of secondary royalties and getting to make a good chunk of money in perpetuity, potentially, whoever wins these royalty wars. And the whole idea that like the attribution of our work in perpetuity, like who made this thing? Like we're creating these memes and these interesting things that are a huge part of our culture, and no one even knows who made these things. So there's an ability of an immutable record in the blockchain to be able to track these things and give people credit where credit's due. That's humongous.
So what we're talking about here are really at the core NFTs, right? And the basics there is just a non-fungible token, something that's holding the essence of that creative endeavor in it. and is able to be verified that that is, in fact, who created it, who wrote it, and that what that information is. Do you want to expand on my definition at all, or?
I think that actually can be somewhat problematic to use the word NFT in regards to traditional art. The reason why is because NFT is just simply a technology, right? There's nothing like connecting that to art specifically. However, integrated with digital art, it's a very good use case. And the problem is that like people from who aren't necessarily like involved in the space, like you guys are, they hear the word NFT and they're like, oh, it's a scam, it's cartoon animals, like there's so many negative associations with the word that I actually have stopped referring to NFTs other than as a point of technology. Like I just refer to it strictly as digital art or digital fine art. So the stuff that you see in the across the way in the gallery setup. Those are some of the best artists in the world. One of the artists just got hired to create Netflix first like IP AAA game. So these guys are the best, and that's the one thing about NFTs, Web3 is that you can actually like, because everything is so new, you can actually like just try to do something and then you wind up like meeting these incredible artists or working with these incredible teams. Whereas like trying to do that in traditional art, like I literally walked into the gallery naively in 2021. I was walking up and down Newbury Street as a buyer thinking, hey, maybe in art galleries where they might sell digital art. Of course, that was a crazy notion. But I walked into Isabel's gallery and we wound up having a lovely conversation. And instead of like being like, oh no, we don't sell any digital art, which some of the other galleries did, they were actually very open-minded, partially because of the owners are very young. But also, they were willing to take a risk, and we wound up producing, as far as I'm aware, Boston's first digital fine art NFT show at a traditional gallery space, and it was a huge success. We had 700 people outside the door on a cold February night, and we sold over $1 million worth of digital art, which was really incredible. And seeing like Boston being put on the map, and things like this are done in New York, LA, Miami, but Boston, we're supposed to be a tech-centric city, and we really didn't have anything.
Wow, that's really impressive, and it's so cool that artists can start out in this space and find such great opportunities to connect with other institutions or other great artists. Do you see there's a lot of friction still in getting digital art into institutional spaces outside of maybe the Pellas Gallery?
I think there are many issues with that. Starting from the technology, from a person who collects traditional art and who's very interested in digital art and very interested in NFTs and blockchain, but is not as an expert as a lot of you guys are who are in the space and having all of these conferences. The technology is not there for a regular person who's not in this space to understand fully. We use some applications on our phone to display the digital art, and it can become tricky for someone who doesn't have a digital arts director to sit down with them. So with technology comes a lot of education. Yeah. It's amazing that you guys are doing this because that's what people need. A lot of people are interested. We saw it on the boom in COVID. There was a lot of free time. People could spend 10 hours in front of a computer on Discord and talk and ask questions and communicate with the artists. But now when we're distracted with our daily life, if this is not your world, I think there's a huge barrier. I think there's also a lack of willingness to put all your eggs in one basket as a gallery standpoint. We did take a huge risk because people only see what is shown the day of, but behind the scenes it was 7 months of planning. It was partnering up with Samsung, with the different artists, and there's a lot of monetary risk that we had to take. It ended up being amazing, and we're very lucky that it was the right timing. But for a gallery who is just starting and wants to educate people, I think that's a huge risk. So I think those are some of the very superficial problems that could happen. But at the same time, there is a lot of happiness and enjoyment to understand the space, and we still see traditional artists trying to be part of the NFT and digital art space. David was telling me about these auctions, and it's Keith Haring's estate, which is a master. They released these NFTs that he had created online when he was alive, and they went for $600K.
Yeah, it was like, it just happened yesterday. 5 digital artworks that he made, like I think it was on an Amiga computer or something like that, in like the 80s. They found and basically put them on the blockchain and auctioned at Christie's, and the 5 of them sold for like over $1.5 million. So that's a huge example of how like traditional art can actually utilize blockchain technology, and like it's preserving the asset essentially in like a collectible format, and it's authenticated by the estate itself. So that's like a huge thing of a crossover. And like Isabel has a great point about like the education standpoint. Like imagine like a 60-year-old person walking into your art gallery and like finding their way to the back section, being like, oh, what's this on the walls? Oh, that's digital art. Oh, how do you collect it? Do I need to buy the screen? If I buy that piece, does it come with the screen? Like, I'm like trying to get them set up with a wallet. It reminds me of like when I was trying to buy my first Bitcoin, like going on these random message boards, and like it was a nightmare. But that said, like it takes time. Like it took like 5, 6, 7 years, like just to get to the point of like where it could even be somewhat mass adopted. So I think that all that, like, it's just going to take time, education, and people like, you know, the co-panelists to take risks, put themselves out there, and really educate. And you see it melding into the traditional art world. Rafik Anadol, like, you know, widely considered like the premier AI artist. His work is on display in the front section of the MoMA right now, and on the Las Vegas Sphere, which is the largest LED display in the world, and at the Grammys as well. So you're going to see guys like that really make their mark and be collected by some of the top collectors in the world.
Yeah, that's great. There's just so much passion in the space. Well, it's a struggle to see, you know, sometimes getting art out there and getting out. We are seeing now that's occurring with these famous artists being put in these amazing places. But the accessibility, I do want to highlight that's still a challenge and still something that the space is fighting through. Carl, do you want to touch on that at all?
Yeah, I mean, you know, our keynote earlier, like they built a platform that allows creators, and it doesn't matter what the industry is, but you can onboard fiat, offboard fiat, get paid, your NFTing, your content, like that's humongous, right? That's the kind of things we need, not just for fine arts, but the whole culture of this. And I think it's difficult for everyone to still understand, because we do have that education barrier, like you guys said. Like NFTs are just a piece of cryptocurrency that's permanently associated with a file. It doesn't have to be an image. It doesn't have to be. It could be a contract. It could be a document. It could be any sort of metadata at all. So like, there's not. We have to understand on the core what we're talking about. But I think, like some of the other panelists have said, once we get to a space where no one has to think about that. When you're on the platform, you're making this. This is just, like you said, certificates of authenticity. That's huge in our space. So. Yeah, I think, you know, as this moves forward, it becomes easier for people to get on. It's going to just make sense for everything of value in our society to have an NFT associated with proving that that's the original one. That's not the fake, right? If I took a Michael Jordan card and I printed it, you know, and made it exactly the same, like it doesn't have any value because it's a copy, right? That's how we're doing this in the digital art world. Like we're saying, well, this one's the real one because the artist said that, and the artist assigned the value to the creator. Right, and these over here are fakes. These are copies, right? And they're not worth anything, and they're, you know, celebrations of this piece, if you will, but they don't have any value. So I think as we understand that more and more, I think people will adopt this more when the barrier to entry comes down. So,
yeah, sorry.
Please.
Just to add on to Carl's point, like there's a lot of friction, but I think like even more so than the education itself, you just need some cool applications. Like I'm a sneakerhead, so. utilizing a company like Endstate, which spoke earlier yesterday, or Nike bought Artifact Studios. So I have a hoodie, and I'm going to get some Air Force Ones by Murakami. Like, I love Murakami. I would have never been able to collect his like painting because it's too expensive, but I can get his sneakers with an authentication, like basically via the blockchain technology with vis-a-vis NFC chip. So like all this stuff is all the cool applications are coming. Imagine going to an art gallery like Pellas, like getting your brain scanned and then collaborating with a generative AI artist and seeing like your emotions as you're watching images of your family and how that transforms into like an artwork that you could just take home. Similarly, like you get your eye scan, you have those like blow-ups of your eye. It'll be of your brain, and all those cool applications are coming. They're just not here yet. Like, but when they do come, that's going to work a lot better than trying to sit and do panels like these, because people actually want that stuff, and they'll educate themselves more so than like us talking.
Yeah, I'm parroting that. Like, we all have to understand this, like we do, right? We're in this deep bear market, right? Everyone that's here actually gives a shit about this technology. No one's here just like, oh, I'm going to make $1 million and screw a bunch of people over. We got rid of all the grifters and like half the bullshit of this. So the core group that's here, it's like on us to educate people, remove some of these myths about what this stuff is and isn't, and just be champions of this. We've never had technology in the history of humankind that can build bridges across communities like this, across the whole world. Like, we're not bound by a religion or a language or what we look like or what, like any kind of thing. It's just, I like this idea that this piece of technology proposes to represent, and you can create connections everywhere. That's massively powerful. So like, I mean, so it's on us to spread that message, right? It isn't just like, oh, I'll make a quick buck. I'm in here. I got high risk tolerance, and I'm going to make millions of dollars. Like, yeah, whatever. That's all bullshit. Like, that's not about what this is. This is the cultural revolution that we're doing. And a great place to start a revolution might be Massachusetts. So I don't know. Like, I heard that before.
So
I'm in.
that's what's so great and fascinating about this technology is we're talking about just being able to make smaller connections and verify that information, but then that gets into the metaverse, that gets into these great ideas and grand visions of how we're going to be able to interact and view each other and share our culture and who we are so closely. So Carl, we talked before this, and I just wanted you to touch on your art with your father and what you've done there.
Yeah, thanks. So like, I got into I've been in advertising and marketing my whole life. My dad was an artist. So in 2016, he passed away, and I told him, I'm going to get this out. All right. Anyway, so on his deathbed, I was like, look, Dad, don't stress about your art. I'll get it out there, And I didn't know what that was. Like, I knew I wanted to do something cool, and he's an amazing artist, right? So a lot of times, like, there's so many amazing artists in the world, they never get their due because they never get the exposure. But like, in 2021, my buddy told me about NFTs. He's like, man, you should take all of your dad's work and mint it to the blockchain. I was like, yes, right? I don't know what the hell that means, but let's do it. Like, so I took all of his art. I have 700 pieces of his work, and I minted them all to the blockchain. And I wrote little stories on each one. And I basically just like talked about them the whole time. So I think at this point, it's still the first of its kind NFT art memoir. So I told stories about him, minted his amazing work to the blockchain, created a 72-piece Genesis collection. And in doing that, I decided to start promoting it. So we had a show in the HK NFT Gallery in New York, so Hell's Kitchen NFT Gallery, that we did in 2021 at NFT NYC. Anyways, long story short, I started making these really cool posthumous collaborations that I've continued to do. So every Wednesday night, like, I'll take sketches of his work, and then I'll take his work and build on top of it with a live audience on a live stream and make really cool, like, ridiculous pieces of art. I mint that, so that's recorded to YouTube. Then I'll mint an NFT of the art. In the metadata, I link the YouTube video that like has the whole story and the creation process of me making this and who was there on the stream and all the crazy shit we said. It's so much fun, really cathartic. It's been so healing, and it's like, that kind of, like, what other technology could you use to do that? That's a permanent record. Maybe I never succeed at making my dad a famous artist, but maybe in 200 years somebody thinks this shit was cool because the Ethereum blockchain's still around. I'm like, oh my God, check this guy out. Now he's like Van Gogh or something. I don't know. Just the possibilities are beautiful. Like, I upheld my promise. Like, maybe it'll happen, maybe it won't, but like, it's possible forever, no matter what. That's amazing.
So what else do you guys see as just the forefront of possibilities. What is in your mind as something that's so cool that blockchain is enabling right now?
Sorry, I have a question. When you sell the art, do you sell only the NFT or the piece?
Oh, great question. So I have 700 pieces. I have 40 on my walls and like 7 on my ceiling. My wife loves my dad too, but there's a limit, right? So so when people buy the NFT, they get the original work of art as well as the NFT as a certificate of authenticity. And then the new pieces I make that are digital collaborations, I print off on art paper, like a really nice high quality archival print, and it's the one of one signed and authenticated print. So they get that as a memento. So they basically get 2 assets when they buy the art. So I've had some success with it. It's pretty cool. So it just feels so good. Like I don't even care if I ever make any money with it. Like I love this shit.
A true artist at heart.
Yeah, for sure.
So thank you for taking the time to delve a little bit deeper into that. But I do want to reiterate.
One day I'll get
Where do you guys see this space moving, and what do you see as some of the coolest things coming out of it?
There's so many.
This whole convention.
Yeah,
right?
I could list like 5 or 10 that I think are really cool. Probably the top 2 I'd say are utilization of AI. So like, when Midjourney or like DALL-E came out, obviously DALL-E's getting updated, a huge update this week. I started using it almost as therapy. I'm not an artist, but I have a writing background, and using word-based prompts to be able to create art is incredibly therapeutic. So like taking a childhood memory and then writing that out and seeing what the AI came up with, and then like fiddling with it and playing with it and like getting it to like look how I didn't even think it could look, but loving it, and that is like an application that expands the creative experience for people that otherwise wouldn't have accessibility to that, given like human limitations. So stuff like that is really cool. I think just like basic things in terms of like dynamic stuff. So like, for example, there's a piece that corresponds to like the time of day or the weather, or like, let's just say like you're an incredible like orchestra, and behind the screen is a piece of evolving art that is taking data, the sound data coming from the orchestra, and then translating it to an image on the screen. Like stuff like that is like really, really like next level stuff. And that's gonna like, it honestly blows people's minds when they see it in person for the first time. So like, but the best stuff we haven't thought of yet. So yeah,
that's very true.
I think there's an opportunity to save us from the pitfalls of AI using Web3 and technology. Like you think about like what the last presidential election cycle was like, and how like the disinformation and insanity of things that is out there, like you don't know what to believe anymore, right? The truth is almost indiscernible. So maybe there's a solution with Web3 where we can do a zero knowledge thing where we meant directly to a blockchain, hey, this is what happened in Congress. This is exactly what the guy said or the lady said or whatever, and like this is what they said, not this crazy manipulation and all these other things are actually fake. Like there's a chance there that we don't lose abject truth, which I think is the danger of AI, because you can create a deep fake that sounds and looks and everything like it. How do you discern that? How does the layman person go, is this real? What am I supposed to believe? Like, who do I vote for? Like, that's a cultural, existential problem we're going to have here coming up. I'm kind of concerned about it. So
It's scary.
Yeah, it's terrifying.
It's going to be scary.
For me, the possibilities are endless. I think artists, I'm going to talk in art, the artists are very creative. We have one of the most famous living artists, Damien Hirst. He came up with the project a couple of years ago. He created physical works and then the NFT. So you could choose to buy the NFT or the physical work, and whatever you didn't buy, he would either burn or completely
destroy
gone.
the physical one.
So you had one or one. It's also exciting, the space in general, because none of us grew up with it, but the generations that are coming up now, the new generations, they are growing up with it. And it's so funny to see when you're in the gallery, a kid comes and he knows, he's like, oh my God, that's an NFT, oh my God. And they start talking, and sometimes the little kids know way more than a person that's in their 30s or 40s or 50s. So it's very interesting to see what new generations will come up with in the art world, in real world, and the metaverse. Yeah.
Yeah, these kids have been coding since they were 8. It's very terrifying as someone who did not get that education background to do all of the magic that the internet can provide today. I've had to learn it myself, compared to getting it in school. Is there any final shout outs you guys want to give out to projects you're working on, things going on in the space that you're involved with?
Yeah, we just launched a Genesis PFP collection. Well, we just completed the art for it. Set up, like your traditional, there's an avatar with 8 parts and different unique pieces to it, but it's for an exchange. That's findtheparagon.com. It's one of our clients. But basically, it's going to be an NFT management platform with all kinds of robust features to allow people to, rent and then, fractional ownership, a bunch of different features. And don't quote me on exactly what the features are, but it's going to be what it should be for creators in mind, and it's really awesome stuff. And the art we did was just is stupid. I'm so excited about it. And you can find that they're on Twitter and everywhere, so just find the Paragon. It's a cool project I'm really, really jazzed on. So.
Thanks, Carl.
Yeah, for me, I'd say make your first purchase, whether it's a piece of art, something fashion related. Just go down the rabbit hole. Take the time. If you have to get a MetaMask, or just message me on Twitter. I'll tell you how to do everything. And find what actually interests you. And that's really the best way to grow the space. And obviously don't risk too much money, but just find something that interests you and that you like. And feel free to reach out to me, Gaucho2121 at Twitter, or just come to the gallery, come to Pellas Gallery. I'm there, and I'll show you some of the best digital artists in the world. And yeah, your minds will be blown.
Great. Well, thank you, everyone. I really appreciated the panel, and we learned a lot today.
And I have an advocacy webinar that I do. So if anybody has a group of people that really just need the basics of crypto and leading into NFTs and some of the ways that this can go, happy to donate that webinar and do that for people. No problem. So if you guys need something, just reach out.
Thank you.
Yes.